The Chicago skyline shimmered under a rare April sun as Emily Carter, 27, stepped out of her rideshare at O'Hare International Airport. Her heart raced with a mix of pride and anticipation. Her first major business trip to Seattle had been a triumph, a game-changing presentation that secured a multi-million-dollar client for her fledgling tech startup. Tucked in her carry-on were carefully chosen gifts. A hand-woven throw for her mom, artisanal coffee for her brothers, and a sleek journal for her sister. Emily imagined the smiles at tomorrow's family dinner when she'd share her success. For once, she thought, they might see her as more than the baby of the family. Emily grew up in a tight-knit but demanding household in Evanston, just north of Chicago. She was the youngest of 4 siblings, a position that came with both perks and burdens. Her father, Michael, passed away from a sudden heart attack when she was only 6, leaving her mother, Diane, to raise the family alone. Her eldest brother, Ethan, was 17 at the time, her sister, Lauren, was 15, and her other brother, Ryan, was 12, while her siblings had vivid memories of their dad, his booming laugh, his weekend barbecues. Emily's recollections were hazy, pieced together from faded photos and half-remembered stories. Diane, once a warm and vibrant woman, hardened after Michael's death. She took on 2 jobs, nurse by day, cashier by night, to keep the family afloat. "I gave up everything for you kids," she'd say, her voice sharp with exhaustion. Love in the Carter household became conditional, measured by achievement and compliance. Ethan became a cardiologist, Lauren a corporate accountant, and Ryan a civil engineer. They followed Diane's approved paths, prestigious careers, stable marriages, homes in respectable suburbs, and children on a timeline she deemed appropriate. They were her trophies, proof of her sacrifice. Emily, however, was different. She chose graphic design over medicine or finance, took a risk on a tech startup instead of a secure job, and at 27, remained single, a choice that baffled her mother. "You're throwing away your potential," Diane would say over Sunday roasts, her tone laced with disappointment. Lauren was already a partner at your age. Despite the criticism, Emily stayed at home after college. Chicago's sky-high rents made it practical, and her entry-level salary barely covered student loans. "You can stay as long as you need," Diane had said at first, her voice warm with maternal duty. But the offer came with strings, rent payments, endless chores, and the weight of unspoken expectations. Emily contributed diligently. She paid $600 a month, bought groceries, mowed the lawn, and drove Diane to doctor's appointments. She was the family's tech support, therapist, and errand runner, yet her efforts never seemed enough. Her siblings treated her as the kid, dismissing her opinions as naive. "You'll get it when you're older," Ethan would say, ignoring that Emily had backpacked through Europe alone and managed a team at work, experiences he'd never had. The tension between duty and independence gnawed at her. Friends her age lived in trendy lofts, dated freely, and stayed out late without their phones buzzing with, "Where are you?" texts from their mom. Emily envied their freedom but felt tethered by loyalty and financial reality. The Seattle trip was her chance to break through. Her startup, a small but innovative firm specializing in digital branding, had landed a pitch with a major tech company. As the creative lead, Emily spent weeks crafting a bold campaign, rehearsing until she could deliver it flawlessly. The night before her flight, Diane barely glanced up from her tablet during dinner. "I'll be back late Friday," Emily reminded her, scrubbing dishes. "Fine," Diane muttered, distracted. "Ethan and Lauren are coming over Saturday with the kids. Be there to help." Emily swallowed her frustration, hoping her success in Seattle would finally earn her mother's pride. In Seattle, everything went perfectly. The clients loved her vision, approving the budget with only minor tweaks. Over dinner, her boss, Alex, raised a glass. "You've got a bright future, Emily. This could mean a promotion." His words warmed her more than the city's crisp air. For the first time, someone saw her potential without comparing her to her siblings. She bought the gifts in a boutique near her hotel, imagining her family's reactions. Maybe Ethan would stop asking when she'd get serious. Maybe Lauren would quit sending her job listings for admin roles. Maybe Diane would brag to her book club about her youngest daughter's big break. The rideshare turned onto her quiet street. The familiar two-story house with its red brick and white shutters coming into view. Children rode bikes. Neighbors tended gardens. And spring flowers bloomed in neat rows. Then Emily saw it. A dozen black garbage bags lined up along the driveway. Stark against the green lawn. 4 figures stood in the yard. Arms crossed. Faces set. Diane, in her usual cardigan. Ethan, in a polo shirt. Lauren, in crisp athleisure. And Ryan, in a faded Cubs hoodie. Their expressions held no warmth. Only a chilling resolve. Emily's stomach dropped. "You can stop here," she told the driver, her voice hollow. She paid, grabbed her bags, and stepped onto the sidewalk as the car pulled away. Her family didn't move to greet her. No smiles, no hugs. "What's going on?" she asked, her voice trembling. "What are these bags?" Diane stepped forward, her eyes hard. "Your things are packed. It's time for you to move out." The words hit like a slap. "What? Why? We never talked about this." Emily's gaze darted from her mother to her siblings, searching for an explanation, a hint of compassion. None came. "You're 27, Diane said, as if stating a verdict. "Your siblings were all on their own by 25. You've overstayed." Ethan nodded. "It's time you took responsibility." The irony burned. Emily had paid rent, worked full-time, and handled most of the household duties. Responsibility wasn't the issue. "This is insane," she said, her voice rising. "I just got back from a business trip. I have nowhere to go." "You should have planned better," Lauren said, glancing at her smartwatch. "We all found apartments right after college." "With your help," Emily shot back, anger cutting through her shock. "With Mom co-signing leases and covering deposits. With 6-figure salaries." "Excuses," Ryan said, shaking his head. "You've had years to figure this out." Emily turned to Diane, desperate for clarity. "Why now? Why like this? Without warning?" "I've been hinting for months," Diane replied. "You didn't listen." "Hinting isn't notice." Emily's voice cracked. "Normal families discuss decisions like this. They don't pack someone's life in trash bags while they're gone." "Don't raise your voice," Ethan warned, stepping closer. The absurdity overwhelmed her. They were lecturing her about respect while treating her with none. "What's this really about?" she demanded, her mind racing. She remembered overhearing Diane and Lauren discuss property values. "Are you selling the house?" Diane's eyes flickered, betraying surprise before she regained composure. "My financial decisions aren't your concern. They are if they make me homeless," Emily countered. "You're not homeless," Lauren said, her tone patronizing. "You have a job. Get an apartment." "Without references? Without a deposit? Without time to plan?" Emily's gaze swept over them. "Who treats family like this?" "We're doing this for your own good," Diane insisted. "You need to stand on your own." "By cutting my legs out from under me?" Emily's voice trembled with fury. A neighbor walking by slowed, staring at the scene. Humiliation stung, but anger burned hotter. "It's done," Diane said flatly. "Your room's cleared. There's nothing to discuss." Emily's heart sank. They'd erased her from the house while she was gone. As if she'd never belonged. "When did you pack my things?" she asked, gesturing to the bags. "Yesterday," Diane admitted. Ethan and Ryan helped. The timing wasn't random. They'd waited until she was 2,000 miles away. Unable to protest. "And where am I supposed to go tonight?" "You must have friends," Lauren said, her tone implying doubt. "Or a hotel," Ethan added. "You just got back from Seattle. You can afford a room." They didn't know her company had covered the trip, or that her savings were earmarked for a future move she'd planned to discuss with Diane. "Can I at least go inside and check these bags? I doubt you knew what mattered when you packed." "Everything's there," Diane said, her voice final. "Your room is empty." White-hot rage surged, burning away the shock. Years of feeling inadequate, of chasing approval, of tiptoeing around her family's expectations exploded. "How dare you?" Emily's voice was low, trembling. "How dare you act righteous while doing something so cruel?" "Dramatic as always," Lauren muttered. "Dramatic?" Emily laughed bitterly. You ambush me after a business trip. Throw my life in garbage bags. And tell me I'm homeless. But I'm the dramatic one? We knew you'd react like this. Ethan said. That's why we did it while you were gone. You mean while I couldn't defend myself? Emily snapped. That's not adult behavior. That's cowardly. Diane's face flushed. Don't speak to us that way after everything I've done for you. What have you done for me lately? Emily shot back. Charged me rent. Made me do most of the chores. Criticized my career. Compared me to everyone else. Yet I still showed up with love and respect. No one responded. Their silence confirmed every doubt she'd ever had about her place in the family. In that moment, clarity hit. She didn't belong here, not anymore. Emily walked to her car, parked on the street during her trip, and popped the trunk. What are you doing? Diane demanded. Leaving. Emily said simply. Isn't that what you want? One by one, she loaded the garbage bags into her hatchback, grateful for the fold-down seats. Clothes, books, electronics, memories, all packed without care. Reduced to trash. When the car was full, she faced her family one last time. They stood united, a wall she'd never fully breached. You know, she said, her voice steady despite the tears. I just landed the biggest client in our company's history. I was about to get promoted. I brought gifts for all of you. Thinking you'd be proud. She laughed softly, the sound hollow. I was wrong. Emily, Ryan started, a trace of regret in his voice. No, she cut him off. You've made your position clear. I won't stay where I'm not wanted. To their surprise, she smiled, not from joy, but from the sudden freedom of having nothing left to lose. Goodbye, she said, sliding into the driver's seat. I hope the money's worth it. She drove away, tears blurring the familiar streets. Her phone buzzed with messages. Likely her family realizing the weight of their actions. But she ignored them. With no plan, no place to go, she called her college roommate, Mia. Through sobs, Emily explained everything. Get over here now, Mia said firmly. You can stay as long as you need. Mia and her partner, Jake, lived in a small apartment 40 minutes away. When Emily arrived, they helped unload her car without judgment, setting up their guest room as a temporary haven. That night, surrounded by garbage bags in an unfamiliar space, Emily cycled through shock, grief, and rage. Her phone kept buzzing. Diane's accusations, Ethan's lectures, Lauren's apartment listings, Ryan's half-hearted regret. They're toxic, Mia said, reading the messages over Emily's shoulder. They're still my family, Emily whispered, her voice breaking. Family doesn't do this, Jake said gently. This is abuse. Their words cut through the fog. What her family had done wasn't normal. It wasn't her fault, and she didn't have to accept it. As she drifted to sleep, a spark of possibility flickered beneath the pain. For the first time, Emily was free to define herself, no expectations, no comparisons, just her. It was terrifying, but it was also the beginning of something new. The Chicago wind howled outside Emily Carter's tiny studio apartment, rattling the single-paned windows. It was her third night alone, surrounded by black garbage bags that held her life, clothes, books, a cracked photo frame of her late father. At 27, Emily had been cast out by her family, her belongings packed like trash while she was away on a triumphant business trip. The betrayal cut deep, but in the quiet of that cramped, peeling paint apartment, something new was stirring, a resolve to rebuild, to redefine herself on her own terms. This wasn't just about survival, it was about proving she was more than the failure her family saw. Emily's first days of independence were a blur of raw emotion and practical chaos. Her college roommate, Mia, and Mia's partner, Jake, had opened their one-bedroom apartment to her without hesitation, turning their spare room into a sanctuary of mismatched pillows and borrowed blankets. You're not alone, Mia said, squeezing Emily's hand as they unloaded the bags from her car. But the weight of her family's actions, her mother Diane's cold dismissal, her siblings' complicity, pressed down like a physical force. At night, Emily lay awake, replaying the moment she'd faced her mother, Ethan, Lauren, and Ryan in the driveway, their faces a united front of rejection. To survive, Emily threw herself into action. Chicago's rental market was a beast. Landlords demanded triple the rent in income. Pristine credit, and hefty deposits. Her savings, modest from years of paying rent to her mother, were a lifeline but barely enough. She spent lunch breaks scouring listings, making calls, and visiting units that reeked of mildew or had bars on the windows. After 10 grueling days, she found a 400-square-foot studio in a gritty neighborhood south of the Loop. The landlord, a gruff retiree named Sal, agreed to overlook her lack of rental history for an extra $500 deposit. "Don't make me regret this," he muttered, handing her the keys. The Chicago wind howled outside Emily Carter's tiny studio apartment, rattling the single-paned windows. It was her third night alone, surrounded by black garbage bags that held her life, clothes, books, a cracked photo frame of her late father. At 27, Emily had been cast out by her family, her belongings packed like trash while she was away on a triumphant business trip to Seattle. The betrayal cut deep, but in the quiet of that cramped, peeling paint apartment, something new was stirring, a resolve to rebuild, to redefine herself on her own terms. This wasn't just about survival, it was about proving she was more than the failure her family saw. Emily's first days of independence were a blur of raw emotion and practical chaos. Her college roommate, Mia, and Mia's partner, Jake, had opened their one-bedroom apartment to her without hesitation, turning their spare room into a sanctuary of mismatched pillows and borrowed blankets. "You're not alone," Mia said, squeezing Emily's hand as they unloaded the bags from her car. But the weight of her family's actions, her mother Diane's cold dismissal, her siblings' complicity, pressed down like a physical force. At night, Emily lay awake, replaying the moment she'd faced her mother, Ethan, Lauren, and Ryan in the driveway, their faces a united front of rejection. To survive, Emily threw herself into action. Chicago's rental market was a beast. Landlords demanded triple the rent in income. Pristine credit, and hefty deposits. Her savings, modest from years of paying rent to her mother, were a lifeline but barely enough. She spent lunch breaks scouring listings, making calls, and visiting units that reeked of mildew or had bars on the windows. After 10 grueling days, she found a 400-square-foot studio in a gritty neighborhood south of the Loop. The landlord, a gruff retiree named Sal, agreed to overlook her lack of rental history for an extra $500 deposit. "Don't make me regret this," he muttered, handing her the keys. The apartment was no dream home. Paint flaked from the walls. The fridge hummed like a dying engine, and the neighbors' late-night arguments seeped through the thin walls. But as Emily stood in the empty space, clutching the cold metal keys, she felt a flicker of ownership. This was hers, a space where no one could dictate her choices or pack her life away. Moving in revealed how little she truly owned. Her family had packed her clothes, books, and personal mementos, but left behind the essentials of daily life: no dishes, no towels, no furniture beyond her childhood bed frame. Mia, ever the optimist, declared, "We're throwing a housewarming. No useless candles. Everyone brings something practical." True to her word, Mia rallied their college friends and a few work colleagues. They arrived with second-hand treasures: a wobbly kitchen table from Jake, a set of mismatched plates from their friend Sarah, a thrift store lamp from her coworker Nate. By the end of the night, the apartment felt less like a shell and more like a home, filled with laughter and pizza eaten off paper plates. "It's not fancy," Emily said, almost apologetically. "It's yours," Sarah replied, clinking her beer bottle against Emily's. "That's what matters." Work became Emily's anchor. Back at the tech startup, she poured her pain into her work, finalizing the Seattle clients campaign with meticulous precision. Her boss, Alex, noticed. "You're killing it, Emily," he said 2 weeks later, leaning back in his office chair. "The Seattle pitch was a home run. And your follow-through is flawless." "Thank you," she said, keeping her personal turmoil buried. "We're restructuring the team," Alex continued. "I want you to lead the digital branding division. It comes with a 15% raise and more responsibility." "You in?" The promotion was a lifeline. The raise wouldn't make her rich, but it eased the constant knot of financial worry. More than that, it validated her choices, the career her family had mocked as unstable. She was proving them wrong, one campaign at a time. But the emotional scars lingered. Nightmares of sleeping on the street woke her in cold sweats. The creak of her apartment's pipes sent her heart racing, mistaking it for an intruder. Trust felt like a luxury she couldn't afford. Even with friends, you should talk to someone, Mia suggested over coffee at their favorite diner. The kind with sticky booths and bottomless coffee. Therapy's expensive, Emily countered, stirring her mug. So's carrying this trauma, Mia said bluntly. Your new job has insurance, right? With Mia's help, Emily navigated her health plan to find a therapist. Dr. Rachel Cohen, who specialized in family estrangement. The first session was like cracking open a dam. Emily sobbed through stories of her mother's control, her siblings' dismissal, the garbage bags. What they did wasn't normal, Dr. Cohen said, her voice steady but kind. Evicting you without notice, while you were away, shows premeditation and a lack of respect. Week by week, Emily unraveled the patterns that had shaped her life. She learned terms like scapegoating and conditional love, seeing herself as the family's black sheep, not because she was deficient, but because she dared to forge her own path. Therapy wasn't a cure, but it was a map, guiding her towards self-worth that didn't hinge on her family's approval. Practical skills became her rebellion. At home, Diane had handled everything: bills, repairs, cooking. Now, Emily taught herself to unclog a drain with a YouTube tutorial, mastered a budget-friendly chili recipe, and fixed a wobbly shelf with a borrowed drill. Each task, no matter how small, was a brick in the foundation of her independence. Then, inspiration struck. One sleepless night, scrolling through online forums where others shared stories of family rejection, Emily started a blog. She called it Starting from Scratch, a nod to her new life. Her first post, raw and honest, detailed her eviction and the steps she took to rebuild. You don't need their approval to be enough, she wrote. To her surprise, comments flooded in, strangers sharing their own stories of betrayal and resilience. The blog became a lifeline, not just for her but for a community of young adults navigating similar pain. Your post about setting boundaries gave me the courage to say no to my mom, one reader wrote. I didn't know I could. 3 months in, Emily ran into Ryan at a downtown coffee shop. The encounter was awkward, their coffee cups like shields between them. You look good, he said, shifting uncomfortably. How are you holding up? I'm doing well, Emily said, surprised at her own honesty. Got promoted. Lead digital branding now. That's awesome, Ryan said, then hesitated. Mom's been asking about you. She has a funny way of showing it, Emily replied, her tone sharp. Cutting me off completely? You stopped answering, Ryan said, but his voice lacked conviction. After being thrown out with no warning? Yeah, I did. He mentioned Diane wanted her at Sunday dinner to talk things through. Emily's stomach twisted. On what terms? Does she admit what she did was wrong? Or does she expect me to act like nothing happened? Ryan's silence answered her. There'd be no apology, no accountability, just the same toxic patterns. I can't do that, Ryan, she said. I'm not the same person I was 3 months ago. She's still our mom, he pressed. And I'm still her daughter, Emily said. That didn't stop her from treating me like I was nothing. They parted, the air heavy with unspoken truths. The encounter stung, but it solidified Emily's resolve to protect her peace. 6 months after the eviction, Emily's phone lit up with notifications, 60 messages from Diane in a single day. They ranged from accusations, where are you? After everything I've done, to please, this is an emergency? Please call. The final one, sent at 11:30 p.m., hit differently. I made a mistake. I need your help. Against Dr. Cohen's advice, Emily read them all. Something big had happened, big enough to crack Diane's pride. She called Ryan the next morning. What's going on with Mom? His sigh was heavy. She lost everything. The story spilled out in fragments. Diane had sold the family home for a massive profit, planning to secure her retirement. But a financial advisor, a charming guy from her church group, had swindled her. He vanished with her money, and that of 10 other victims. Jackson and Lauren aren't speaking to her. Ryan added. She promised us a cut of the sale. And we all made plans. Ethan for a vacation home. Lauren for a renovation. I was cautious. But I'm still pissed. The irony wasn't lost on Emily. Diane had excluded her from the house sale decision. And now her other children were punishing her for similar secrecy. There's more, Ryan said. She's got nowhere to live. The new owners took the house last week. She's in a motel, but her money's running out. Emily's jaw tightened. And she thinks she can move in with me? That's not fair to you. Ryan admitted, surprising her. But she needs something. She's our mom. The situation forced Emily to grapple with hard questions. What did she owe the woman who'd raised her but also betrayed her? Could she help without unraveling her hard-won independence? After a session with Dr. Cohen, Emily agreed to meet Diane at a neutral spot, a cozy coffee shop in Wicker Park. Her new boyfriend, Sam, a graphic designer she'd met through work, offered to wait nearby, a quiet pillar of support. Diane looked different when she arrived, smaller. Somehow, her usual polished look was gone, replaced by a worn sweater and minimal makeup. She'd aged a decade in months. Thank you for coming, she said, clutching her coffee like a lifeline. I didn't think you would. I almost didn't, Emily said, her voice steady. Silence hung between them, heavy with years of unspoken hurts. I lost everything, Diane finally said, her voice cracking. The house, the money, everything. Ethan and Lauren won't talk to me. They say I betrayed them. Emily nodded, acknowledging her mother's pain without taking it on. I need help, Emily, Diane said, the unspoken request clear. She wanted to move in. 6 months ago, Emily might have caved, desperate for approval. Now, she saw clearly. Do you understand what you did to me? She asked quietly. Throwing me out without warning. Packing my life in garbage bags. Humiliating me in front of everyone? I was trying to help you grow up, Diane said, defensive. By ambushing me? By selling the house and cutting my inheritance? Emily's voice stayed calm, but her words cut. You treated me like an inconvenience. Not a daughter. Diane's eyes welled up. I made mistakes. Yes, Emily said. And now you're facing the consequences. Just like I did. So you won't help? Diane's tone turned sharp. I didn't say that, Emily corrected. I'll help, on my terms. She laid out her boundaries. Honed through therapy, she'd help Diane find affordable senior housing and contribute a small monthly sum. But Diane couldn't live with her or control her life again. That's your idea of help? Diane asked, incredulous. It's what I can give without losing myself, Emily said. The conversation stretched nearly 2 hours, accusations, tears, and glimmers of understanding. Diane struggled to accept that their relationship had changed forever. I never thought you'd be so tough, she said at one point. I never thought I'd have to be, Emily replied. But here we are. They reached a fragile agreement. Emily would research housing options and assist with applications. Diane would join family therapy as a condition of support. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. As they parted, Diane asked, when will things go back to normal? They won't, Emily said, her voice gentle but firm. We might build something new. Something better. But we can't go back. Diane's face fell, the reality sinking in. For Emily, the moment brought a shift, not forgiveness, but a loosening of the anger that had fueled her. She saw her mother not as the towering figure of her childhood, but as a flawed woman whose choices had cost her dearly. A year after the eviction, Emily's life had transformed. Her promotion to director of branding came with a 30% raise, stock options, and benefits. She traded her rattling studio for a bright one-bedroom condo in a vibrant neighborhood. Its balcony perfect for morning coffee and potted herbs. The day she got the keys, she stood in the empty space, overwhelmed. This was hers, bought with her own money, shaped by her own taste. Her housewarming was a celebration of her new life. Mia, Jake, Sam, and even Ryan filled the condo with laughter, toasting to her resilience. To Emily, Mia said, raising her glass, Who turned trash bags into a home? The blog, starting from scratch, grew into a beacon for others. Messages poured in from readers who found strength in her story. Your words helped me leave a toxic home. One wrote, I thought I was alone. Helping others healed Emily, turning her pain into purpose. She also started a small scholarship fund for young adults aging out of foster care or escaping dysfunctional families. The grants covered essentials like security deposits or work clothes, needs she knew too well. You're turning pain into something beautiful, Dr. Cohen said, reading feedback from recipients. Emily's relationship with Diane evolved slowly. Through therapy, Diane admitted, I never realized how my mother's control shaped me. It didn't erase the past, but it gave context. Emily contributed $200 a month to Diane's expenses, formalized through their therapist to keep boundaries clear. Diane moved into a senior living apartment, a modest space that mirrored Emily's own fresh start. Ryan became a cautious ally, meeting for coffee and offering a sincere apology. I should have stood up for you, he said. His honesty opened a door, though trust would take time. Ethan remained distant, his pride unyielding. Lauren, however, reached out after her marriage collapsed, her own crisis softening her edges. I get it now, she said over lunch, her voice raw. Having your life upended overnight. Their monthly lunches were tentative steps towards something new. Emily's journey wasn't a fairy tale. Some nights, the pain resurfaced, sharp and unbidden, but she'd learned to set boundaries, to value herself, to build a life that reflected her. Her condo, her career, her blog, her relationships with Sam, Mia, and others, they were hers. Earned through grit and grace. The betrayal that broke her had also freed her. In losing the family she thought she needed, Emily found the strength she deserved. Have you ever turned a painful ending into a new beginning? Share your story below. And if this resonated, hit like and subscribe. Sometimes, the hardest moments lead to the most beautiful chapters. Keep building, keep growing, and protect your peace.